Hi everyone! Today I am almost 14 weeks pregnant and I have conceived through an IVF. So in this video, I'll finally talk about some tips on how to find the right fertility doctor. And before I dive into it, I want to tell you, I've seen 4 different fertility doctors. I've been to 3 different clinics. So I just want to tell you right off the bat, don't think that you will find the perfect doctor on your first visit, on your first consultation. Shop around, meet doctors, have a consultation with them. Be prepared for your consultation, and I hope that this video helps you prepared for those meetings, because you need to understand how IVF works so that when you first meet them for a consultation, you can ask them the right questions and you can tell if this doctor is going to be right for you or not. So here are the red flags that you should be aware of. First and foremost, you need to make sure the clinic that you are visiting is transparent with pricing. Let's be real, IVF is a difficult journey emotionally, physically, and also financially. So one of the main reasons, people give up on IVF, or, people are hesitant to start an IVF is because of the financial hardship. So you want to work with a clinic and a doctor who is transparent about pricing and who has some dignity as a doctor, not just a businessman or woman who sees you as an ATM machine. And the way to avoid this is pretty simple. So when you first call the clinic to set up an appointment, most clinics have financial coordinators, and they ask you to set up an appointment with them earlier on so they can check your insurance and they can tell you the estimated cost of the IVF. I have been to 3 different clinics, and not all clinics are very transparent with pricing, and that is definitely a red flag. So IVF is a comprehensive procedure. It's not just a one visit. There will be a lot of monitoring visits. There will be a lot of tests that needs to be done, and then there will be an egg retrieval surgery, and then there's a embryo transfer. So it's kind of hard to see how much the cost is gonna be, because you don't know how many monitoring visits you would need. And in between, there'll be a lot of procedures. Some of them are covered by your insurance, some of them are not. And if you are one of those lucky people who have a full coverage on IVF, good for you. You probably don't have to worry about it a lot, but I know most people's insurance do not cover IVF. So the bottom line is, make sure that your clinic has checked on your insurance, and ask them what your expected payment would be and what could be covered and what could be not. In my case, the clinic that I chose finally was very transparent about pricing. They actually had a brochure of their prices. All the information was laid out in front of me, so I had a clear idea of how much I'm going to pay. Do not work with a clinic that is not transparent with pricing upfront. And the second red flag that you should be aware of is when the doctor recommends a lot of testing without giving you a clear explanation as to why you need those testing. This is the ultimate reason that made me work with the clinic that I chose at the end. Even though the clinic was far away from my house, so going to a clinic was inconvenient, but at the end of the day, I had no other choice but go with them, because here's my situation. So for me, the biggest problem I had, other than the fertility issue, was that I had a slightly bigger ovarian cyst. The cyst was measuring 3 to 4, and at one point it was measuring 4 to 5 centimeters. I think the rule of thumb is that if the cyst is more than 5 centimeters, it's a little bit more concerning. If it's less than 5 centimeters, it might go away eventually, or if it doesn't go away, there's a very low chance that this can be a harmful cyst. So I saw 3 different doctors, and the first doctor said if you have a cyst, you need to remove it. Like, he went from A to Z in a second. There was no further evaluation about what kind of cyst it is, or is it necessary to remove the cyst. There was no evaluation. If you have a cyst that is persistent, that is more than 3 to 4 centimeters, you need to remove the cyst. Removing a cyst means you're doing a surgery. I think it's done through laparoscopy or something. So you make a small hole in around your belly. So it's a huge procedure, number one. And more importantly, when you remove your cyst, there's a chance that you can damage your ovary. If your ovary is damaged, that means your fertility is reduced significantly, because ovary produces follicles and eggs. Without ovaries, you can't be pregnant. Of course, most of us have 2 ovaries, one on right and one on left. But losing one ovary or damaging one of the more active ovaries could mean that your fertility journey can get much harder. So I didn't think that the first doctor knew what he's doing, or he cares about the patient's overall fertility journey at all. He just want to get the surgery done and then do the egg retrieval. So I saw another doctor. She didn't tell me that I need to do the surgery right away, but she wanted me to do a lot of extensive screenings, like MRI on my ovary, pelvic ultrasound, and I kind of, asked her, would that be necessary? So I did one pelvic ultrasound at a different special, facility, and the person who did ultrasound said, this is less than 5 centimeters. So in this case, what we do is we just keep, monitoring every 3 months, every 6 months, but it doesn't look like your cyst is anything abnormal. So that was the conclusion that the pelvic ultrasound technician made. But this doctor asked me to go to an MRI and do the test. And at this point, I was more concerned that this will take more time, because at the time I was 40 years old and I just had a miscarriage, and I was in a dire situation. At least in my mind, I was like, okay, I don't have any time to waste. I want to go right into IVF and do the egg retrieval as soon as possible. But this doctor was very nonchalant about the whole procedure, and she doesn't seem to care how old I am and how long this process is gonna take. My impression was that she just wanted me to do more expensive testing. And eventually she said, I'm not gonna go right into the egg retrieval and bring a needle into your ovary because there's a cyst. So I started to go online and I looked for cases where people with an ovarian cyst going through an IVF, going through an egg retrieval without doing the surgery. Eventually, I came across this video on Google that tells a story of this patient who had an ovarian cyst, but she got pregnant through an IVF. So it's possible to do an IVF when you have a cyst. So I did the egg retrieval with a cyst, no problem. And also they did a fantastic job, by the way, because I thought, since I had a big ovarian cyst, I thought, okay, I will probably have to compromise on the egg count, because if the follicle is closer to the cyst, and they, the way they get eggs is they actually insert a needle into your ovary and they poke the follicle, and that's how they get the egg. So if the follicles are closer to the cyst, then they're not gonna poke the follicle, because still they don't want to touch the cyst. I'm okay compromising on that. If they can get all the eggs, that is fine. but they were able to get all the eggs despite the cyst, and I think they did a fantastic job. Honestly, looking back, the reasons why some of the other doctors pushed me to do the surgery to remove the cyst was because they are inexperienced in egg retrieval. If the doctor is confident and is experienced with egg retrieval, they're not gonna push you to do the surgery because they know they can handle the egg retrieval with the cyst. People have all kinds of different issues, that can be in the way of fertility journey. So my 2 cents is, if you feel that the doctor is not giving you a full explanation, but just asking you to do more tests for no reason and asking you to do surgery for no reason, you should be skeptical and you should start asking right questions and find a doctor who's experienced, who knows what they're doing, and who can take a patient with issues and get the optimal result. The last red flag you should be aware of is if the clinic doesn't have any portal, website, or any system that you can use to communicate with the nurses and with the doctor, it's going to be very frustrating experience. IVF is a very time-sensitive procedure. You will talk to your nurse almost every single day. So you want to be able to communicate with your nurse and with doctor. For me, it was very helpful that the clinic that I went had a portal, and the nurses there were very responsive to my messages. So I was able to ask a lot of questions like every single day. They always got back to me in time. And the communication was fantastic, and it is just so important when you're doing IVF that you feel that you are heard. If you are a person who's very proactive, about advocating for your health, I think you definitely want to go with a clinic that has a portal website or that has this kind of communication tool that's available for you to use throughout the journey. That's all I can think of right now, but if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm currently on my first baby moon. I'm in Aruba right now, so I'll share my baby moon experience in another video too. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.